What's up, everyone? It's Peter Tragos, the lawyer you know, and today we're jumping in here while we have a break to talk a little bit about the first two witnesses in the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial. We're trying to bring as many update videos as we can. Whenever I have breaks throughout the day, I've jumped onto Legal Bites' channel. She's live streaming the trial, as I'm sure a lot of you have been watching. I know some other channels in law and crime and stuff are live streaming the trial, so I'm sure a lot of people are watching there. I think they're going to take a lunch break at some point. This is when I had time, so I want to just jump on here, give my thoughts on the first two witnesses in whole on this channel for anybody that's just following the case here with me. I'm sure most of you are going to be watching that live stream, so you probably won't jump in, and we'll watch this later, which is totally cool. Make sure you get your questions in the comments so I can answer them when I have time. Uncivil Law was supposed to join us today. Kurt over there, he is a YouTube lawyer who reached out to us on Twitter, and we were going to have him on. We scheduled it today. I don't see him in the back room yet, so if he jumps on and joins, I will add him to the stream, and we'll get his thoughts on this trial as well. And really what I'm more interested in from him is kind of his thoughts on defamation and how he thinks our country should deal with it, what he thinks the repercussions should be. So if he joins us, we will get to that. If not, we will just hit these two witnesses in the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case, and then we will sign off just to continue these trial updates as it's going for this week. And just a little scheduling note, I will be out of town next week. Actually, I think Monday and Friday I'll be in town. I'll be in the office. I'll try to do lives Monday, Friday. The rest of the week we'll have some pre-recorded videos that we're still going to bring you content. We're going to bring some Elizabeth Holmes and Sunny Balwani stuff, as well as some other videos that we will record this week and play next week. So we will still bring content every day. That's my goal, is to post a video on here every day from our channel. But let's talk about the first two witnesses that Johnny Depp's lawyers decided to call. The first one was his sister. And from his sister's perspective, she brought a lot of information about his background, about when he was a child and how he was abused by his mother, and about how he ran and hid. And that was kind of his MO when, I guess I don't need these if Kurt's not here. And that was kind of his MO when he was subject to abuse from a female family member. And that's kind of what they're trying to equate. I thought it was a little bit too much. I thought there was a little bit too much about his mother's sickness and trying to make him seem like a saint with his children and with his mom. I get that's sometimes what plaintiffs' lawyers want to do. But when they have this much baggage and damage to throw at her and cross, like his drug abuse, him seeing a doctor, pain pills, she even saw him with or sent him to the doctor, I think it's dangerous to try to make him look like a saint personally. But, I get what they were trying to do. I thought a lot of her testimony was not that relevant to an actual defamation case. And while I'm listening to it, it seems like this is some kind of domestic violence case or battery case, be it criminal or civil, because so much of it had to do with why he acts how he acts, what he thinks, what his upbringing does to him, how it changed him, how it's affected him, but not whether or not what Amber Heard said was a lie and how that lie damaged him. I thought that her testimony about working for him and the fact that she should know about the damages that he's suffering, and the fact that she didn't really know, and she didn't do a great job explaining why the damages he suffered specifically from Amber Heard's actions and from this defamation. That is an element. You do have to have that to win the case and to prove your case and prove your cause of action, which he didn't have, which I don't think she did a great job of. I do think he potentially has it, but they did a really good job. I thought the cross was better than the direct. And we'll get to kind of how the lawyers are acting and some of the objections and things like that at the end. But during cross, they got to the fact that he was showing up late. She knew he was showing up late. He needed the money. His career was floundering because of blackouts and drugs and alcohol and all that. So I don't feel like it was great testimony for Johnny Depp, especially with it being the very first witness for them. Now, sometimes scheduling issues create the problem where you have to call witnesses where you can, and you can't call them in the perfect order. So I get that. But I don't think the witness or the sister did a great job as a witness. Personally, I think it was a win for Amber Heard. I don't really think like they got a ton of points off on her either, but if she's not effective for the plaintiff and she's the plaintiff's first witness and the plaintiff's sister, that counts as a loss for Johnny Depp, in my opinion, if you don't start out with a bang. Obviously, she's biased. Obviously, they asked her those biased questions. I don't think personally they have a huge influence on the jury. Like, they're going to know his sister's going to be biased in his favor, especially if she works for him. She makes her living off of him. I do think they got a couple good impeachment shots, but the lawyer for Amber Heard carefully crafted his questions on cross to make it seem like there was going to be a aha gotcha. And I don't feel like he impeached her with everything that he said, because he was asking about were you ever concerned from anybody other than Amber Heard? Because she was basically saying at first the only concern she heard for drug and alcohol abuse and other kinds of abuse was from Amber Heard. So he prefaced it by saying, other than from Amber Heard, anybody ever tell you that he would romanticize drug culture, had a drug problem, acted like a child if he didn't get his way immediately, had issues with anger? She said no to all that, and it seemed like he was going to impeach her. He brought up an email from a doctor that she set Johnny Depp up with to help him with his addiction problem. But I felt like that email, which was not able to be entered into evidence, and I don't think he's doing a very good job trying to enter pieces of evidence in and then publish them to a jury. He's not asking the right foundation questions. He's skipping ahead. Usually in civil cases, you have a book of exhibits that you just enter them all into evidence, so you don't have this problem. There's only a few pieces of evidence we know we're going to fight about, but it seems like he's fumbling over that personally. And Beverly, yes, we are going to get she said she's been watching his childhood friend artist for hours. He's a riot. Is a witness giving more or less credence if they're a friend, even when under oath? We will get to all that as soon as we get to that witness. So I did think it was also an interesting point. So those questions were well crafted, I thought, by Amber Heard's lawyer, but I also think he did a good job, as when he was asking her certain questions, she was looking at Depp's lawyer, who was nodding or shaking his head, which is a big no-no. You cannot do that in trial. He asked him to stop. Judge told him to stop, basically. I don't think he did a great job entering these things in evidence and kept certain things out that I felt like he should be able to get in. But some of it's only allowed to be brought in as impeachment, which you'll notice. The reason an email from somebody else can't come in is it's hearsay, right? It's an out-of-court statement used to prove the truth of the matter asserted. But you can get around that if you ask the question, the person on the stand lies, and you can impeach them with that hearsay. Then you can read it aloud. You can show it to the jury. Sometimes you can get into evidence. Sometimes you can't. It seems like most of it he wasn't able to get into evidence. And then Johnny Depp's lawyer gets up on redirect and starts leading. And he gets objected. He said, "Judge, it's redirect." And the judge said, "Yeah, you still can't lead on redirect, dude." So he finishes his redirect on a question that was objected to. The judge sustained his objection, and he was not allowed to continue on or answer that question. And then he sat down and was done with redirect. Not great. Not how you want to do it. But then we have the guy Beverly is referencing here, Johnny Depp's childhood friend. Friends from when they were teenagers. And, they moved away, then they reconnected. Johnny lets him live in the penthouse. He gives him about $100,000. He basically takes care of the guy. Is the guy biased? Obviously. He loves Johnny Depp. He says it over and over again. But he was an extremely likable witness. He was funny. He was cracking jokes. He was complimentary of Amber. Kept saying she had nice teeth. She had nice complexion. She was beautiful. She was nice. We all loved each other. But he was saying he never saw any violence. He never saw any issues. He heard them yelling at each other on the phone a few times, but felt like Amber Heard was goading him or trying to make Johnny upset. He talked about how he liked everybody. They were all neighbors. He saw them all the time. There was a weird amount of discussion of makeup, especially on cross. They were like, "Do you know what this kind of makeup is? Do you know what that kind of makeup is?" In my opinion, not effective, because it doesn't seem like the guy that he knows knows about makeup. So he kind of laughed a few times, laughed it off. I felt like he was really believable personally. Beverly's question, if they're a friend, does it give him more or less credence? I definitely think the jury should and does take everything friends and family members say with a grain of salt. And that, yes, they can believe it. Yes, they're under oath. But here's where I think here's where the rub is. If it contradicts something that an unbiased witness says, then I think you take the unbiased witness word over the friend or family. That's what we think as lawyers, at least. Now, if Johnny Depp says something and Amber Heard says something, and Johnny Depp has 20 people that agree with him, even if they're biased, and Amber Heard only has 2 or none, then I think you start to believe those friends and family members more, and it helps build your case. So I think that there is an element to bias, but I don't think you just disregard everything somebody says just because they're a friend or just because they are a family member. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Cross. Besides the awkward makeup comments, she tried to trick him on, do you remember exactly what dress she was wearing or what her hair looked like? In my opinion, not that effective. I think he did a good job of saying there was no marks on her, no bruises, no cuts, no blood, no redness, no issues at all. I saw her multiple times the days after she said this. One of them was even my birthday. That's why I remember it so much. And then when asked about Johnny's drinking or drugs, he was like, yeah, I know he, partied. I partook with him or something like that. It was a funny answer. Seems like a really good, jovial guy. Now, if you ever want to know what not to do on cross and what a bad cross looks like, go to where the lawyer asks, "You're angry with Amber, aren't you?" And he said, "Yeah, I am, because she took these phony pictures. She made up phony police reports. She said that the lawyers made her do all of this, and she didn't want anything. She didn't want any money. She's ruined his family. She's ruined his career. A lot of people got hurt. It's so sad. I wish they could both move on. I wish she never would have told this lie that has gone out the door and around the world." And she just let him go on and on and on. And although it's clunky, although it's not great, although you take your L, you object to that as non-responsive to your question. So you're questioning, so it's awkward if you as the lawyer object to that, and you say, you say, "Judge, objection, that's non-responsive. He's just going off in a narrative. He's not answering my question." The judge will shut him down and you keep going. It's still an L, because it was a bad question to even give him the opportunity to go off on a tangent like that. But the worst thing you can do, even worse than taking that L, is letting him stomp all over you and get everything he wanted to say on direct, but that they very meticulously did not specifically say because it probably would have been improper. He just word vomited it all over her on cross. And that was kind of the last part of the trial I saw before I jumped in here. So there were fireworks here with this second witness. It is taking forever, in my opinion. These witnesses are dragging on and on and on, but they are eyewitnesses to a lot of important events. And I at least felt like this friend, I can't remember his name, the artist with the white goatee, I do feel like he had some really good, pertinent evidence that the bruises, the police report, that issue of domestic violence was a lie. It was phony. He saw her and those bruises were not real. The reenactment of the punch with her sister or friend or whatever, I don't know what that proves or disproves. I guess that she was joking about it, but they weren't saying, I thought maybe that's where she got the bruises. Her friend actually punched her in the face and all these people saw it, but no, it's just like they're reenacting it. We also heard Elon Musk's name, who is on the witness list and we all think is going to be a witness in the case, Mr. Tesla himself. So we'll see if he ends up testifying, because they're laying the foundation. The fact that Elon Musk was also there and probably also saw her face, I don't know, because like I said, I didn't read everything and follow this case before, and I'm trying to come in with a blank slate. I don't know what Elon Musk is supposed to testify to, but I assume it's going to be what he witnessed about Amber Heard. So very interesting first two witnesses. Fireworks have already gone. It's been a fun trial. I thought both witnesses were boring at parts, but it was very interesting to me how these witnesses were used. And I don't really necessarily think the best two witnesses to start out with, but based on what he has, this is where we're starting. Okay, so I am going to get into the comments now and the questions. Not a ton of us on here, which I understood. People are watching the trial. They're watching other channels. They'll get to this eventually. So if you have questions, let me know in the comments which witness you think was better. Put sister or friend, because I don't remember their names off the top of my head. I'm listening to it in the background on 2x speed. So sister or friend, whichever one you think was the better witness, put it in the comments just so I can see kind of what your vote is. From my opinion, it was the friend big time. Okay, so Megan, perfect. I'm so glad you said this. The fact that she faked it really bothers me. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to say her and the friend faking, reenacting it. Maybe that is what you're saying. And if it is, I'm going to take it for my content purposes. So if potential jurors think if she has the audacity to fake getting hit in the face, then she couldn't possibly really be a victim of domestic violence. Then it's working and they're getting that point across. From my perspective, we don't know the context of what that fake punch was. I'm sure she's going to say it wasn't true and it never happened. But even if it was, if somebody's just watching two people from across the room and you can't hear what they're saying or what they're listening to or what they're doing, and they're doing stuff and making motions and laughing, I think it's tough to say exactly what their motives were behind that personally. Yeah, Joy said, step right up the circus of the year. Seems like it. All right, let me see. Martina, question. If he sues for defamation because of the article and he is not specifically named, just implied, is that a problem for his case? I think it is a problem for his case. I think it's a problem that that article was not just about him. She didn't say Johnny, 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 Johnny. So I think where it can really come into play is if the jury's like, she didn't do this to defame him. She didn't do this to affect his career. Maybe it could come along, with that. But legally speaking, his lawyers are making it clear that it was about him, timeline. That's how she got in the public eye. That's the only reason she was really in the public eye. So clearly it was about him. He does not have to be named in order for it to be defamation per se, like legally speaking. Yeah, the guy was cracking up when talking about, thanks, Beverly. I'm not an attorney, but I attended your law school. This is my law school. It's about as close as I'll ever get to being a law professor. It's not my thing. Yeah, Beverly saying the friend comes across completely genuine. Yeah, Andy's saying seeming like the friend did better with especially how the lawyer messed up on cross. Yeah, really weak cross. I mean, maybe more is happening now, but really weak cross that I saw. Yeah, so LLH, I'm thinking Johnny would have to be solidly confident that he's going to win, knowing your entire personal life is going to be dragged through with a fine tooth comb isn't something most people would do. I agree, but I think they're making some arguments that he might not be in his right mind. I think the stuff that they're saying about him, just like in the public eye, you guys tell me maybe I'm being insensitive, but her lying about getting, domestic violence or exaggerating or whatever you want to do, people are going to think she's despicable. I get it. But what are people going to think about Johnny Depp at the end of this, even if he wins? Like they are just slinging mud all over the place. I think if he wins, he's vindicated. I really think it's going to be difficult for him to win. I mean, if it's true and she did lie, I really hope he wins. I really hope he gets justice. I think it's really hard to prove a case like this. There's so much he said, she said. There's so much context missing. It's really going to come down to whether or not they believe her, I think. Really, that's what it's going to come down to. Joy says, I hate being on the stand after vowing to tell the truth and the lawyer binds your tongue, pisses me off. What you don't understand, though, is people lie even on the stand, and there are things that are inadmissible, and there are long-standing reasons why it is not. There are reasons why they can't say and do certain things in court. There has to be these rules. We have to stick to the rules. Sometimes the witnesses don't know, so we have to let them know kind of where the lines are. So as much as you don't like it, there are reasons for it. We want only reliable evidence to come in front of the jury, not I heard somebody say something, and I think what they meant was this. And if it would have been a little bit different, we don't want them to talk about hearsay. We don't want them to speculate. We don't want them to go on tangents and just say what they want to. Although I think the only negative you can say about the friend is when he goes out on the tangent, when he says that Amber was trying to goad Johnny Depp into a fight on the phone, it does show his bias even more. So they can use that, I guess. Sister wasn't a great witness, Martina said. Yeah, I didn't think so either. It really felt like she was trying to protect her brother. I kind of felt bad for her. I thought she was a sympathetic witness, like I felt bad for her, but I don't necessarily think she was really strong for Johnny because it really felt like she did try to help her brother. I think the worst part for her was her own text messages that basically she's telling Johnny to stop taking pills, stop drinking, he's got to be a better father. I think those are the most damning things are your own words as a witness. And I think Johnny's own words are going to be the most damning in this case, which I don't know what they are, but I keep hearing references to recordings and text messages. So, we'll see what actually happens. So Beverly, so why are Amber's attorneys asking about the broken wine glasses and wine bottles in the hallway? Could that not as easily been Amber and not Johnny? Peter, unless I'm missing something, Johnny is the person filing this suit. What is he going for and why? He's looking for over $50 million in damages. He is saying that because of her lies, he has not been able to get the same movie roles. He has not been able to get paid as much for those movie roles. Specifically, he didn't get Pirates of the Caribbean 6, which hasn't even come out yet. And he's saying he lost all this money because of her lies. So there's all these different elements. He has to prove that she publicized it, which is clear in the Washington Post, but that it was a lie and that it was not just an opinion or it was not just the truth. That's a difficult bar to get over. And then she has to prove damages. It's clear that if you look at Johnny Depp's career, he has damages. He's losing money. But why? What caused those damages? Amber Heard's lawyer is arguing his drinking, his blackouts, his alcohol, his personality, him showing up late to filming. He is causing his own career to spiral, not Amber Heard. And nobody can connect it to Amber Heard or these lies or the domestic violence altogether. You can't connect it to. So he has the duty and the burden, not the duty. He has the burden to connect what she did to him to those damages and to the money that he lost. Now, there's also a counterclaim where Amber has filed claims against him, but the majority of the case, yes, Johnny Depp has filed this suit against Amber Heard. Well, I get you, Joy, and that's great. And if we have witnesses, and a lot of times it's not just lawyers calling witnesses liars. A lot of times we have text messages that they've sent or other depositions or things that they've sworn to, and they're changing their testimony. That's very frustrating for a lawyer who's trying to do our job, and we're trying to ask questions, inform questions based off what we know, what we've already testified to, and you completely change it. I feel comfortable saying that that's a lie, and it's very frustrating for a lawyer. Yeah, Camille saying the damages are done. and it won't change anything for him. Yeah, Kara said, I followed this case in much detail, but based on what was proved in the UK case, he is at best excusing a mutually abusive relationship, not the best look PR-wise. I agree, and that's what it feels like so far. Mutual abuse, mutual problems back and forth, which the good thing for Amber Heard is she doesn't lose if she's an abuser, right? I mean, it's not fair, and I'm not condoning that, but if she's an abuser, it doesn't really matter to this defamation case, because if he also hit her back, then she is within her legal right and First Amendment freedom of speech to say that he hit me, he abused me, he hurt me, right? She's allowed to say that. That's what it comes down to. Now, whether it was in self-defense, whether he committed a crime or she committed a crime is for a different courtroom in a different case. I'm doing my best to focus in on the defamation, the elements of defamation, and how the evidence applies to defamation. All right, so let's finish with this comment here. Seriously, you jest. Always tell your attorney everything. I mean, everything. Your attorney can only work with the truth. Absolutely. And I can't tell you how many times it's come back to be a negative thing for our clients when they don't tell us apart and they think they don't want to look bad in front of us. And in reality, we could step in it because of what they haven't told us. Let's see this. There's a couple more here I'll get to. Yes, Mr. Turn of the Party, this is live, as I proved by just clicking your comment. Megan, didn't one of his companies, Safe, specifically say that they don't support domestic violence and that's why they wouldn't continue with Johnny Depp? I'm sure he can connect some damages to it. Absolutely. The point is, every dollar of damages you have to connect. So just one company or just one film or being offered less money is a part of it. Absolutely, I think that this damaged him. It's just he's got to connect it. And again, just because there's one thing conjecture into another doesn't prove it necessarily. So, it's his burden. Let's see. Listerine. If Johnny doesn't have a history of abuse in prior relationships, I lean toward the fact that often abuse victims will eventually return to the abuse of their abuser. So see, exactly. Now, I'm not necessarily saying I think this, but research shows that some people believe that if you were abused as a kid, you're more likely to be abusive later, which is why all of this digging into his abuse from his mom, to me, opens up the possibility that he could be the abuser. I'm not saying that it's positive, but it could. Hey, Mr. Turn of the Party, this one is actually not a last second thing. I know this has been up for at least a day or two because Uncivil Law was supposed to join us. He's not here, didn't make it. But this one actually was up. So I don't know if your bell is rung, or I know you're a subscriber because you've said that before, but I don't know. But I'm glad you're here now. So if you have questions on Depp v. Heard, let me know. I broke down the first two witnesses earlier in the video, so you can jump to that and check those out if you want. But thanks. I'm glad you could at least join us for the end. Martina, yes, her counterclaim is part of this trial. They mentioned it. Both of them mentioned it very briefly in opening, and I did an initial primer video for this on day one. If you want to go check out more about her counterclaim, you can go there. She's also saying he defamed her through the words of his lawyer. Kit Kat, what do you think of Isaac in terms of his credibility? Thank you, Isaac. That's his name, the friend. We've just been calling him the friend. So I think he was believable. I think he was a likable witness. I'm sure the jury liked him. I do think he's biased. I think that they can dig into that. I think they can say and explain all the different ways that he's biased. But, I think it's going to be a juror by juror basis. I broke down everything that he said and where the highlights were, the good things, the bad things that he said earlier in the video. If you want to check those out, I don't want to bore everybody that was already here for it. But yeah, I went through in depth the first two witnesses, the sister and the friend, earlier in the video. But overall, I thought he did a good job. I really liked him as a witness. And when the Amber's lawyer stepped in it and crossed, he went off on a tangent, explained how these phony pictures of her lies have ruined Johnny Depp and his family. And I think it was actually really good. I meant Amber's abuse of him, triggering him to become abusive in return. I've unfortunately experienced myself. Right. I think there are a lot of things that Amber Heard's lawyer can use, and you may not even be agreeing with how I'm taking your comments, but I think this is something that Amber Heard's lawyers can argue, whether he abused her or whether it was in retaliation for how she treated him, how she spoke to him, whatever she did with him, he still abused her back. So, as long as he abused her at all, whether it was in retaliation or on his own, then what she said in the op-ed was true, at least in her mind, in her opinion, and therefore no defamation. Scout, do I think they'll take the stand? Yes, I do think they will take the stand. Kit Kat, no problem. Happy to answer the questions and glad you're here. Beverly, unless I'm misunderstanding, the lawsuit is taking place in Florida. I'm not trying to kiss ass, but Tragos should be handling this case. I'm not a Johnny Depp fan, but Amber is a liar. I'm an imp. Okay, it's in Virginia. And it's interesting as to why it's in Virginia and not California or somewhere else or where one of them lives. It's in Virginia, which I answered this before, but I'll answer it again because it's a big question everybody has. It's in Virginia because the Washington Post prints in Virginia. So their printers are there and their servers are there, which is where they post it. He picked it. Amber's lawyers mentioned in opening that he picked it to make it more difficult on her and to drag her through the mud and make life hard for her. So that's interesting to me. And I appreciate the kind words as always. These lawyers. Okay, so let's talk about the lawyers for a second since Beverly brought it up before we're done. Mr. Turn of the party, no offense to anyone, but when it comes to abuse, plenty of women choose men who are abusive. She can't be with a man that doesn't abuse them. I don't think I agree with that, but I do think that part of her argument may be she didn't say it at the time because she was trying to protect her husband or her boyfriend, husband. I think they were married. They were married. Obviously, they had a big divorce settlement, $7 million. So she could say, I was trying to protect my husband. I didn't want to make him look bad in the press. That's why I wasn't telling people at the time. That's why I didn't say sexual violence. I did care about him. I didn't want to hurt him. He made me say all this stuff. Exactly kind of what you're saying is they try to protect the abuser and go back to the abuser. That is something that happens a lot, unfortunately. So I think that's part of the argument she could say as to why she didn't bring it up sooner or say it sooner. Let's talk about the lawyers real quick here at the end. These objections, a lot of people are mad about, which I understand. Some of the objections are absolutely necessary. You have to keep certain facts out that are inadmissible. You can't let them lead certain witnesses down the road on direct. I get it. But the amount of objections has been brutal to stuff that's absolutely admissible. And one of the problems is the judge is sustaining some leading objections like, did you ever talk to Amber? Objection leading sustained. That is not a leading question. A leading question is, you spoke to Amber, didn't you? Because did you speak to Amber? They could say, no, I didn't speak to Amber. Or, yes, I've spoken to her many times. When do you mean? It's not, the answer is not in the question. Okay. In order for it to be leading, the answer has to be in the question. We've litigated this issue. There's case laws, at least in Florida, on this issue as to what's a leading question and what isn't. And I mean, it has been brutal to listen to. And then they're missing some objections that seem obvious to me, like speculation. They're also objecting way too much to hearsay for things that are not hearsay. When they're saying, did you ever talk to this person? Objection, hearsay. That's not a hearsay question. Did you talk to them? It's not hearsay. It's what did they say? Or what did they tell you? Or how did you hear this? Or whatever. That's hearsay. I mean, it's a struggle fest when you listen to some of these objections, but I can't blame them for some part because the judge is sustaining some improper objections, in my opinion. That is difficult for me to watch as a lawyer. I don't know what you guys think. I don't know how brutal you may think it is. All right, Megan, do you think the jury will see it in really the light of the law, or do you think they'll go into a lot of hubbub? I think it's difficult to hear Johnny Depp's name and not have that affect you if you're a juror. I don't know. We'll see. I hope they stick to the law. Yes, they were trying to impeach her. I'm not sure exactly what part you're talking about, but the email specifically, they were trying to impeach her with her own text messages. They were trying to impeach her with some of her own words. I don't think it was super effective at times, besides when they were actually reading what the content of the impeachment material was. So, Kara, do you think it can potentially be used that he was never abusive before? It can be a big difference for some people. I agree. I'm not sure. I might be missing part of your question based on how it's written, but they have already mentioned that, 50 years of his life, nobody's ever accused him of abuse. He was married for 14 years before, never been accused of abuse. They actually all support him. His kids never say he abused them, nothing. So that's proof that he's not abusive. I think some of that's irrelevant personally. And if it was flipped because he had abused somebody in the past, it wouldn't necessarily be able to come in unless he was convicted of a crime, of course. But some of that you can keep out as improper character evidence or bad acts, prior bad acts. But I think they're letting them get into it. They said it in opening. It seems like they're going to argue it absolutely. All right. I think we're going to end on that one. Thank you, everybody that could join the live. And for everybody watching this later, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe to our page and like the video. Make sure you get your comments and your questions below and let me know which witness you thought did better, so we can continue the conversation on the Heard v. Depp case. And we'll be back with you at some point this week for more of an update on this trial. Thank you so much.